we're developing at my university with my colleagues at the two research and development laboratories. This project is financed by the European Union and the Bulgarian government. So, okay. So to give you a brief, overview, because some of you are familiar with from movies, from sci-fi, from documentaries of what is, AR, and of course, for time to communicate in real time again, and to manipulate objects, virtual objects, to have multiple people in one place that manipulate this virtual object. But we combine at the same time, augmented and virtual reality under the umbrella of extended reality, as it's called. So here are some examples from sci-fi. Probably you are familiar, with Star Wars, the movie, and you can see here David Attenborough in his avatar, or more or less identical copy of him. So, what is holographic communication? So holographic communication combines augmented and virtual reality, but at the same time it uses the basis of the current telecommunication channels. So we have to share a virtual space where people from all over the world can experience together, a shared reality from anywhere. Also, as I said, it needs a lot of data respondent immediately. So it's very important, the real time, the latency is very important here, and I'm gonna underline it in my next slides. So what are the essential requirements for successful holographic telepresence systems or communication systems? There are different terms that you can find in the literature. So first is a shared person space as a shared task space. So shared person space means that you need to feel present in the virtual environment. So you can see your body, you can feel, the presence of the others. You can see the facial expressions of your correspondents. You can, see the blinking, see the movement of the mouth. So this is the feeling of shared person space. And shared task space, this means that we can, manipulate together virtual objects, and we see what the other person is doing. So we have a shared task space. So these spaces must be coherently integrated to provide a realistic communication environment when the users are geographically distributed all over the world, as I said. So all the big companies currently are working on different types of holographic communications systems. You have already seen Microsoft has developed a full platform, including the Microsoft HoloLens glasses. Google is also working on this type of communication. You see Apple is already put on the market from this year, new type of AR, VR glasses. So there are plenty of experiments done from private companies and from research and development laboratories from universities, etc., etc. So there are plenty of examples. And obviously, if you have read the 6G white paper, you know that AR, VR, and holographic communication will be one of the pillars of 5G and 6G. So I can give you here a brief example of this hardware and software system, how it is represented. Okay, so you need a lot of sensors, of course. And these sensors are necessary for, to be able to follow the movement of the user. And of course, you need to transfer the data through the channel that is gathered by the multiple sensors. And this data must be compressed at some point, sent through the channel, and revisualized at the receiver side. But as I said, there are plenty of challenges, even though it sounds a little bit simple. Okay, so one of the things that I'm going to talk in my presentation is because what we currently are setting up our use case scenario to be is a holographic communication system for knowledge transfer, or a holographic system where we can train people from distance. So no need for them to be present at our lab to experience the training. Okay, so what are the current limitations? I said that there are a couple of challenges that I'm going to discuss with you, and I'm going to show you what we're working on. So, as I said, these sensors that we have generate huge amount of data. You can imagine if you work, I don't know if you're familiar with the RGBD sensors, so these are depth sensors. So you have information about, the camera, RGB camera, you have depth information, you have audio information. If you want more or less semi-immersiveness, you're gonna input also information about touch, okay, and gestures. This means another channel, another type of information. So, when you have plenty of sensors, because obviously you need to have minimum of 3 RGBD sensors to be able to have the full view of the user, the full body of the user. This means that you have huge amount of data, because you can imagine that these sensors generate point clouds with millions of points. So this means very, very huge amount of data. And even with the current broadband channels, streaming this huge amount of data will lead to latency. The latency is generated by the sensors. For example, if the users wear wearable glasses like Microsoft HoloLens or VR glasses at some point, the sensors generate their own latency. Then you have latency generated by the data generation, by the calculation, then through the channel, and then the revisualization. And here I have given you some examples so you can understand a little bit, how much data we need to send a 3D frame, including the mesh geometry. If with compensation for real-time performance, so you can see an average per frame transmission is 2 to 3 gigabits per second with an overhead for compression less than 10 milliseconds. So one of the things that is important for you to understand that if you want to experience augmented and virtual reality in real time, you need to have below 30 milliseconds of delay, of latency. Everything above 30 milliseconds, this means that, I don't know if you're familiar with the term, cyber sickness occurs. So you cannot experience very well the augmented and virtual reality. So you'll get sick at some point. So one of the things that we challenge ourselves in this project is to develop an intelligent way to compress the data, so we can use the current available channels to exploit the potential of 5G technologies for this long-distance, real-time holographic telepresence system. Okay, so what are the requirements? So we need capacity, we need, of course, lower cost. So we need increased throughput per user as quality of immersion improves. So we have quality of experience and quality of service that we need to take care of. So we need very low latency. So the mixed reality, this includes AR and VR, requires 6 degrees of freedom. So this is the new term that includes, the immersiveness is the tactile internet. So because we want all the users to experience everything at the same time, they need to have the uniform experience, so full immersion everywhere. So we have to have consistent throughput, even at the cell edge. And of course, we need rich visual content, high resolution, high frame rate, stereoscopic images, high dynamic range, 360 degree spherical content, 6 degrees of freedom, manipulation of virtual objects, communication, and if you wear a haptic vest and haptic glove, you can shake hands even, so in real time. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you of, as I said, to give you state of the art of what we're doing, to show you a little bit, the advances that we have, and to demonstrate a use case scenario where we have a platform for holographic communication that we use for knowledge transfer during a business model innovation process. Okay, so I have given here a brief explanation what I mean under knowledge transfer. So the idea is that we're going to concentrate on the tacit knowledge transfer. So this is something that you learn by experience. This is the knowledge that you learn by experience. You cannot read it by a book. You cannot have it in a presentation. You need to see someone demonstrate. You need to repeat this information, to redo the experiment. So we're going to concentrate our example on tacit knowledge transfer. So, of course, what I'm presenting here can be very useful for e-learning, and this will be one of the elements that we're going to incorporate later on with this holographic system, the e-learning, how to train and to help people, not necessary to be present in the lab, to learn and to have different experience. Okay, so let me give you an example what we're doing. So you can see here, this is the architecture of our holographic system. We use, maybe some of you are familiar, we use the B-cube architecture. The B-cubes, these are the hexagonal rooms that you see. These are patented structures by the University of Aarhus Business School, where you see the size is around 2.5 meters per side, and these structures can be put everywhere in the world, so they're all the same. As I said, currently, to my knowledge, around 20 countries possess these B-cubes. So these B-cubes are our controlled environment where we can set up our sensors and where, we can communicate very easily because it's replicable. What we're doing, you can replicate it in each B-cube. Okay, so you can see at the home site, we are doing a lot of processing, so gathering of the data. I'm going to show you the first step, of course, is the avatar creation, because we need to create our own representation. Okay, so this is done offline. So we have all this 3D people scanned in advance. And then we have the home site and the remote site. They share information. And you can see here that we are basing our experiments on semantic data. So we do a lot of research on semantics. I'm going to explain a little bit later what is semantics, if you don't know. So we do a lot of facial parametrization. So why this is necessary? Hope you're familiar that when you wear glasses, so wearable glasses, no matter if it's Microsoft HoloLens or virtual reality glasses, you hide your face. And as I said at the beginning, if you want real life communication, people need to see your face. They need to see that you're blinking. They need to see your facial expression. They need to see your mouth moving. This is the presence of self-presence and co-presence. So otherwise, communication doesn't happen. It's not a real communication, let's call it like that. So when you wear glasses, this means that the sensors, the cameras, they don't see your face. So what is the solution? Probably you know, obviously, that's why a lot of people cannot, really experience VR, is because they don't see the movement of the avatar's facial expression. So that is one of the challenges. And we do a lot of facial parametrization in advance, so we can reanimate the face of the user when we start the communication process. We have also, because the body is moving, of course, we have skeletal parametrization and tracking of points. We have clothing capture. Clothing is part of the body, Obviously, it needs to move. You need to feel real. This means that your body needs to move, the clothes needs to move, everything needs to be as close, as realistic as possible. We also have a small element of identification because we have a library of avatars, so we need to identify who is entering in the B-cube. Okay, so this is one side. Of course, plenty of things other is happening, but I try to minimize, the things that I'm gonna show in this presentation. Then we're sending a lot of information through the channel, but still, if you compare to sending 3D point cloud to this type of appearance metadata and voice streaming, it's a lot less, okay? And then at the remote side, we have facial reenactment, so the reanimation of the face. We are doing, because it's a real-time communication, this means that we have a loss of information through the channel, that. It's real time. You get you're losing packets somewhere of data. So you need to have to have a prediction step. So we do this prediction of skeleton joint positions in advance, couple of milliseconds, just in case we need that. And we have simulation of garment movement and, as I said, activity prediction. So you can see a little bit, what is happening in this, use case scenario. Okay, so what are the building blocks of the architecture? So I'm gonna describe some of the algorithms and systems that we have developed. So as I said, I'm gonna mention a lot of things about semantic knowledge, because we're gonna use semantics to minimize the amount of data that we're sending through the channel. So for humans, semantics is something that we know. So you learn from young age that, for example, fire burns, okay? And you know that when you see a stove, you don't touch it, okay? So this is something that you know. You learn it, and this is semantics, you know it, okay? So essentially, this can be also used, prior knowledge can be used in telecommunications to compress the data. So we use a lot of semantics to be able to, as I said, represent the data and send it through the channel. So semantics has been part of several scientific disciplines. You can see here information retrieval, information extraction, computational linguistics, knowledge representation, artificial intelligence, database management. All these different fields are based on some level of semantics. There are different types of semantics. What we're going to use in our case, of course, is the complex syntactic structure, but the implicit semantics is very useful at some point. Formal semantics also depends, of course, on the application. So how do we incorporate semantic knowledge in the holographic communication in the use case scenario that I have already presented? First of all, as I said, the holographic communication uses a huge amount of data, requires high bandwidth of communication channel, and the semantics will have to alleviate this requirement. So, first of all, let me give you an example. We are using a lot of computer vision algorithms because, as I said, we're using cameras, RGBD cameras. And one of the first steps when you have the environment, you can use semantic segmentation based on object detection. So this is an example, if you want, how with different algorithms based on prior information, you can segment the object inside the controlled environment. So in my case, I'm going to give you an example, because as I said, the B cubes are all the same all over the world, no matter where you are. If you have a B cube, it's the same size. So I can calibrate my sensors, RGBD sensors, all the same with simple algorithm with inside this B cube, and I can scan the B cube only once. Okay, so this is my semantic information. I have the prior knowledge of the size of the B cube. I can calibrate the sensors, I have a controlled environment, so this is a way type of semantic information. And then when you have a user who enters inside the B cube, I can very quickly segment where the user is inside the B cube. And of course, if I have objects, for example, inside the B cube, I can very quickly detect this. So, as I said, a way of semantic segmentation. So this is something that I want you to show. I want you to see more or less. So as I said, our first step before going to the holographic communication is the scanning of the person. We have developed a full system, hardware and software system to scan a person, and you can see this is, an image. So this is a circle on these bars that you can see around the letters. These are the Cyrillic letters. We use them for calibration of cameras. We have 78 very simple, very basic, RGB cameras. They are positioned on the bars. The person stays, and each camera takes one picture. And you can see here we have developed a specialized algorithm from multiple views to be able to devise a 3D image of the body. The cameras, as I said, are calibrated based on you can see the letters around the bars. So this is the first step, and then you have the avatar, which can be animated later on. How do you reanimate an avatar? Very easy. you have the skeleton from the RGBD sensor. So I'm going to explain it a little bit later. So then when you have your avatar, okay, then you need to create models of the body. So this is a very hard task, trust me, because the body of each person varies. It varies a lot. It varies by age, by gender, you know, by everything that you can imagine. So we have developed a couple of algorithms for real-time, high-quality body reconstruction and transmission, of course. So these are some examples of what we're doing. So we have a statistical model and we have real data model, you know, we coincide this, because don't forget that then you need to reanimate. So your avatar needs to move, and it needs to move naturally. So it's not so easy as it looks. So we optimize a lot. So these are a lot of algorithms based on deep learning. I'm not going to go in details. If you're interested, I'm going to point you to some papers that we wrote. And there are some free data sets where you can experiment by yourself to see how to model the body. Okay. So, as I said, we have developed our own calibration procedure for RGBD sensors inside the B-Cube. So, without any, we are doing marketless calibration, and this is very necessary, trust me. If you have more than one sensor working, you need to calibrate, you know, the multiple sensors to work at the same time. This is absolutely necessary. And again, the calibration procedure is based on semantic knowledge. As I said, you know the size of the B-Cube, you know what are the elements, you don't need a marker to be able to calibrate this. So again, based on semantics. And I will give you here an example. This is the Teleinfrastructure Lab. Okay, so this is my PhD student, Radostina. So you can see the sensors from both sides of her. So these are the Kinect Azure sensors. So these are RGBD sensors. And you can see how you can scan the environment very quickly. And of course, you can use these sensors to devise, you know, to reconstruct the scene. And here is the B-Cube with the sensor calibration. You see the walls. So we use the semantic knowledge to for a mathematical framework for 2 steps, you know, coarse and global calibration procedure. And you can have the B-Cube scanned. It's replicable. It's all the same no matter where you are. You see inside there is a table with 6 chairs, you know. This B-Cube from, as I said, is a from the Orpheus Business School. They do business model innovation inside. So the table is very specialized. It has some, you know, elements of business model. But I'm not going to talk about business modeling. I'm not the expert here. So just to give you some pointers, if you have already encountered the B-Cube, to know what is happening inside. Okay, so these are the Kinect sensors that are already calibrated, as I said. Inside the B-Cube, there is, of course, a workstation with some additional, you know, computational power, and wherever is happening inside the B-Cube can be, you know, transferred as a data stream. We have 2 B-Cubes, one at our premises at the Technical University of Sofia, and one in 10 kilometers away in one of our other research and development laboratories at the Sofia Tech Park. Okay, so this is the example of both of them, you can see. Okay, so you can see this is the registered 3D scene from these sensors that you saw. You saw where the sensors are. Okay, so you can see because they can measure information almost to 160 degrees horizontal, and I think around 100 degrees vertical. So you can see, you know, how they register a 3D scene and how these are point clouds. I don't know if you're familiar with this. So what we do here, you know, we extract the scene, we extract the information. So this is, you detect the hexagonal cells by finding the wall surface, find the distances, refine the normals, and then you extract the cell environment, and you can reconstruct only the B-Cube. So these are some examples. Of course, as I said, all this is, things that we're doing at the lab with my colleagues, and most of the things that I'm presenting here are published in different conferences. Okay, so environment, okay, but now what is happening with, you saw the body, but the body is one challenge. As I said, the main challenge is the face. So semantic segmentation of 3D faces is not a trivial task because it requires a lot of detailed mapping. And the semantic knowledge in the face is represented by the eyes, the mouth, the nose, and the eyebrows. We know that this is present in each face, So here again is Radostina. She's, recording her face in front of the RGBD sensor. And we detect the face, we separate the face with point clouds, we detect the facial key points from different views. Then we use semantic segmentation of the 3D face to be able to reanimate the face later on. And based on this information, we have the reconstructed face model. And this reconstructed face model will be used later on for reanimation. The head will move, the lips will move, the eyes will blink, we can smile, so have some facial expressions. Okay, so this is about the face. So the activity recognition, as I said, because we already have the body, we have the face, but you need also to have the body is moving. You do some gestures. Communication is 20% gesturing. Gesturing with the body, gesturing with the hands. Body gestures. So there is a lot of task here, a lot of neural networks working behind, because of course gestures are plenty. And again, semantic knowledge is very important. And of course, as I said, we use this activity recognition to be able to later on predict what is happening with the movement of the skeleton joints. Because I'm going to give you an example. If you have the sensor, RGBD sensor, this means that, after detecting the body, you get the skeleton. The skeleton has between 28 to 40 something points, key points. These key points represent the basic, for example, my elbow, my, the arm, etc., etc. So, for example, if I'm going to sit down, the process of sitting down, moves all my points from the skeleton at a certain, steps. And these steps, every time, more or less, are very similar. So obviously, when I'm sitting, if you look at my point, for example, let's imagine, okay, I'm not sitting, so I'm gonna wave my hand, okay? If my, I'm gonna recognize, for example, the activity as waving hands, okay? So when I wave my hand, I'm gonna move my hand. So I have this key point, and this key point. So when I wave my hand, my key points will move in the 3D space at a certain, limited area. Because obviously I cannot change from one frame to another this key point to go to the other side. This is not humanly possible, okay? So I have this information. I know that when I wave my hands, the movement of my key points will be at a limited space. So I can have some prediction for, a couple of milliseconds in advance. So as I said, it's a lot of work, but it's interesting work because there are different gestures. Trust me, it's like a very big data set. So again, all this information must be compressed. So currently we're working on a lot of algorithms, how to compress the data, the human body, taking into account that it's highly variable. You have, as I said, different factors, age, gender, ethnicity, health, etc., etc. The clothes also, I didn't mention the clothes because this is a whole nother, kind of worms. So plenty of things are happening. As I said, currently we are developing a couple of algorithms for 3D data compression with my PhD students. And the last step is communication channel. We work a lot with some of the telecom operators in Bulgaria. One of the telecom operators currently is testing 5.5G testbed. So we are communicating and working with them to be able, how to say, to test and to see how we're going to send this compressed information through the channel and then, see it from the other side and manipulate objects. So these are a lot of challenges for 5.5, and it's called now 5G and beyond. And how to incorporate semantics. So my colleagues are working on that side of the question, how to also develop different types of antennas. So as I said, I'm not the expert of the telecom part, so I'll be very brief here. Okay, so as I said, it's a very interesting platform, the holographic communication platform. The users can interact in real time, anywhere, anytime with anybody. It's either in virtual reality, either in augmented reality. You can have the feeling of self and a feeling of personal space, and a shared co-space, of course. It's totally different from the standard 2D communication by phone or FaceTime, of course, because you can incorporate at some point all senses. Currently, what we can send as information, what we can gather as information and send as information, it's auditory, visual, and tactile. That's it. Everything about smell and taste is not developed yet. For taste, yes. For smell, no. Okay. Taste, the Japanese researchers have already done some progress. So you can replicate taste in a digital way. But what is about smell, nothing is done. Smell is very difficult. So to have a fully immersive system, it will take probably some time until, taste of smell and taste, smell and taste are incorporated. But for now, we can have, as I said, the haptics, so touch. You can hear voices and you can see. So let's say 60% there. We need another 40. Okay. A lot of challenges are left, of course. We work a lot on the quality of experience. So we want to see how the people experience this holographic telepresence system. So how to synchronize the streams of haptic, of audio, and the appearance. So this is important, the synchronization. So the aggregation and management of data streams in real time, it's a very difficult process. We need to, and we are currently working on identifying a rate reduction mechanism and reliability requirements. So, as I said, this is the telecom tasks. The network lag spikes must be minimized. The dropouts must be minimized to ensure error robustness. This is where the prediction step comes from. Okay. So, as I said, different compression techniques we are currently working on developing on different levels. And we are, as I said, customizing a prediction step, not only to predict the user movement depending on the network delay, but also to be able to proactively predict application-specific actions corresponding decisions. So, as I said, what are the potential applications? As I said, knowledge transfer or e-education. The idea is that most currently institutions have already most of the sensors that I mentioned. Everyone has virtual reality glasses. They are cheaper. Augmented reality, they're a little bit more expensive. Everyone has RGBD cameras and sensors to detect, and standard cameras to be able to detect the movement. So it's easily doable if you have the right, setup. You can try at least to some minimum extent to replicate part of the systems and send information. Of course, I wanted to show you what we're doing currently. I represent, as I said, a very small fraction of what the Technical University is currently doing. What I can tell you very briefly is that my university has one of the best, Center of Excellence in mechatronics in Europe. in the biggest, one of the biggest. So my colleagues work on the plenty of applications of mechatronics. What we are currently combining the telecom and mechatronics together with one of the telecom companies. We are developing a full system for industrial network to be able to, how to say, replicate and automate the robots inside the mechatronics center of mechatronics and to control them from a different building. So if you have opportunity to visit the Technical University of Sofia, I'm going to show you. It's a very, very nice center of excellence with plenty of machines there. And I'm going to show you the setup that we're trying to do together. So, as I said, it's a very, very it's an interesting system with a lot of potential that can be replicated and can have different usage depending on the requirements. So what we are planning now for future development, as I said, a lot of algorithms are there to be tested and to be developed, but the basic goal is, as I said, this system to be replicatable, so open access and everything put in one place, so whoever wants to replicate can do it. So this is our goal. And of course, as I said, for us it's very important the future of education, because there are plenty of people who want to, for example, study but cannot travel for different reasons. And this is a way to offer better access to people where, you know, you can experience the labs and the teaching without necessary way to move. And this was tested a couple of, 1 or 2 years ago with the B-Cubes in a challenge, business model innovation challenge, where people from Bulgaria worked inside the B-Cube together with people from Denmark. They have the same challenge and they were using the Microsoft HoloLens glasses to communicate and to manipulate virtual objects. So that's my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
How the holographic communication can be helpful to the physically handicapped people or a visually impaired person?
So, yes, good question, as we say. Okay, so depending on the handicap.
Yeah.
Of course, if it's a blind person, probably, it will be difficult because, we get most of our information through the eyes. So, of course, if you want to manipulate virtual objects, obviously this will be difficult for a person who don't see. But to my knowledge, there are a lot of systems currently that by using, especially developed for blind people, that are using some type of additional sensory experience for them to be able to feel through the object. But again, this is very experimental. These are special surfaces that are not available. It's difficult to acquire, at least. So this will be, at least at this point now, difficult for them. But for all the other people, handicap, I think there is no problem, because scanning process is something that is without any, limitations. Everyone can get scanned. Even though if you're sitting on a wheelchair, can be done, of course. And the movement, we see with the cameras the full body, no matter if you're sitting or standing, no problem about that. If you have, the idea is that probably a lot of, for example, the Microsoft HoloLens, and it's a full platform, the Microsoft Mesh, for example, where they'll allow you to combine a couple of HoloLenses at the same time, for example. So they offer for the non-hearing people additional, information. So they transcribe what is, what is said during the communication process. So this can be added. So, as I said, usually plenty of people can use the system with no problem, no matter if they're handicapped or not. What we encountered is actually people who have problems, as I said, with cyber sickness. So this is a little bit more or less our problem, because, as I said, if we cannot guarantee a certain latency, you get this blocking effect from the channel, and people get sick at some point very quickly. So they need to take out the glasses and get out of the room. So this is something that plenty of people are working now, because how to minimize these negative effects of augmented and virtual reality.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
First, I would like to thanks to you, ma'am. It was very, insightful and very informative talk. And I want to ask, when you can you switch to the slide number 24? In that you mention real world image and the statistical image. It is mentioned there.
Okay.
There are two images. One is a real and 24, slide number 24.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll wait for my assistant here to help me. 24. Yeah. I think I remember it. It's about the semantic segmentation, or
It was about a statistical model. You was
okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay,
yes,
okay.
yes.
About the body.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember it. Okay, okay. So you can continue with the question.
Ma'am, like
yeah.
which model you use to optimize your images?
So there are a lot of research there. We are basing our experiments. I'm going to show you later. Yeah, I'm going to show you later. There is the base that we're using is developed by the University of Tübingen. They have the very big data sets for human body models. And I'm going to show you, I think it's SMTP or something. I need to look exactly. I'm going to show you. So we're basing our experiments on their body models. So, yeah.
Yeah, and ma'am, one more thing. You mentioned the business model.
Yeah.
Which kind of business models are there? Like just kind
Okay,
of,
so can you go, let me use that, I think. I'm going to show you a little bit, but as I said, I'm not the expert in business modeling, but I'm going to go to the architecture. The B-Cube was developed by the University of Aarhus and from their business school, and they have developed a procedure for business model innovation with 7 steps. Let's see if I can find an image where you can see the table up close. Yeah, but so you can see this table. I'm going to see if I have some more pictures. But these are different steps of business model innovation. As I said, we are engineers, don't do business modeling at all. Okay, so these are different steps. I'm remembering what we did as an experiment with them. So with Aarhus University Business School, when we tried to do the holographic communication. So they had a task from Nestle. Nestle had 1 million liters of milk left, so they couldn't utilize them. And they wanted a solution for 4 hours. What should we do with 1 million liters of milk that will spoil very quickly, because milk needs to be used very quickly. So the people who sit down there use 6 steps, and some questions and answers to be able to develop this the answer to the question, okay, to the task more or less. But there is a professor over there who is patented this business model innovation process. His name is Peter Linglin. I can give you his, he has plenty of papers, so you can look at his research. So this is his B-Cube.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
as of now, touch, vision, and hearing can be replicated, and their application makes sense. But as for evolutionary part of taste replication, what would be the possible implication? I mean, uh,
Yes, ma'am. As of now, vision and hearing and touch can be replicated and their application makes sense because we can interact, right? But as for evolutionary part of taste replication, what would be the possible implication? I mean,
Okay, so yeah, taste is very interesting. As I said, the people who are working on taste and have pretty much developed a system where you using 5 types of gels, you can replicate taste. They have developed a mathematical model, so they can replicate any taste based on these 5, umami, neutral, sweet, sour, so 5 basic tastes. The idea is that when you talk about fully immersive system, you want at some point virtual reality, to become fully immersive. We have hearing, seeing, touching, smelling, and tasting. So to be fully immersive, you need to have all your senses in the virtual reality. Currently, the taste is we can replicate that because we have the 5 basic tastes, and based on that, we can mix them at the different amounts. And for example, you can drink coffee in virtual reality and taste it. But the problem is that you cannot smell it.
does it make sense, ma'am?
I think it makes sense at the point that, if you look at the sci-fi movies, etc., you can see that people want to experience, other things.
Yes.
For example, let me give my point of view. I'm super busy,
Yes.
This is my first travel for the full year. And I really, I closed my door, locked my key, and said goodbye, and I'll be back in 2 days. But for example, I wanted to go on different places. I want to experience different things. Taste, I love, Indian food, I love Chinese food, I love Thai food, etc., etc. So maybe this is a way, to get out a little bit of your comfort zone and to experience something different. And I think if we have the fully immersive system, plenty of people will try to, adopt the virtual reality, because now very few are using virtual reality because it's only for gaming. It's for nothing else mainly. Okay, but if you have more options, more experience, then probably it will be much more interesting for people to use it. The problem is the smell, because the smell has no basis. Okay, for example, for facial expressions, you have anger, happiness, surprise. So you have 7. And based on these expressions, you can, devise a little bit facial expression recognition, but you need a basis. The basis for taste discovered by the Japanese, but smell, no, there are no bases that you can, replicate and digitize and use it to develop all other smells. So this is very much behind. As I said, maybe in the next couple of years, thanks to AI, we can find a way to digitize smell also, and then you will have the full immersiveness and, experience, go for a walk, eat at a cafe somewhere, in another place in the world free of charge, something like that. Let's imagine it as an experience, more or less. So this is my opinion, it's a personal thing. It's not mandatory for everyone. But for me, engineering, it's about progress. It's about, as you mentioned, evolution.
Yes, ma'am.
So, of course, at some point we're going to go, and people want to escape, the reality. So I think it will be pretty soon that we'll have the full immersive system.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you for your question.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Vishal Bhatia, and I wanted to ask about why did you specifically move ahead with the B-Cube room?
Okay, so the B-Cube room was, a means to an end, okay? And the idea is that because the B-Cube is a replicatable, it was already distributed in different universities, that some of them were partners and still are partners to my faculty. And these B-Cubes are located in Japan, in Sweden, in Germany, in India. I know that here are at least 2 or 3 B-Cubes in different Indian institutions, in Thailand, in Pakistan also, etc., etc. So these B-Cubes, because, as I said, they are replicable, so they're all the same. For me, I need to scan them once. And I don't need to send information every time,
So it's for calibration purposes. only.
It's for calibration purposes, of course. As I said, it's very easily replicatable. And if I base, how to say, my system on some replicatable thing, it will be much easier then for people to install and then to connect.
So there can be actually I want to add something on it. So there was some research that was done by Oculus. So if you know about the VR glasses.
Okay.
So they actually have some room scanning devices as well. And did you also explore about LiDAR sensors?
Yeah, the LiDARs are very, how to say, they're useful, but in this case, because we are inside, okay? The LiDARs are more useful when you are outside, because they are not dependent on light, and the distance is bigger. But here I have very small distance, okay, and I'm inside. So the LiDARs can be useful, but if you compare the price for RGBD sensor and a LiDAR, the LiDAR is maybe 3 times more expensive. And if you're not using half of its capabilities, because you have a room, 3 square meters or something, the LiDAR is something that can cover maybe a kilometer or more, depending, of course, on the sensor. So it's, how to say, it's useful, but not in this case.
It's business case.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
No problem.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, my question is that in spite of advancing in these technologies, like you are talking about smart glasses in AR, VR, virtual reality, so while adopting these technology, can we compromise with data security and data privacy, digital rights? That is challenges for us while adopting these things.
Yeah. True, absolutely true. So
Is there a solution?
Yeah, of course. As any telecommunication channel, it is. It's obviously additional steps for security can be added at some point. I'm not saying that here we haven't, how to say, include this part, because for now, we want to have the full system working, and then, try to add the additional components like security of data. Obviously, the easiest thing that you can do is encrypting. You need to, the cryptography.
Encryption.
Yeah, encryption. Of course, yeah. And of course, we have this step that I mentioned at the beginning, but it's not very, how to say, we use that for the purposes of the, the identification and matching. So if you're not identified, you cannot try and, how to say, you cannot start the communication process because you're not part of the system. Okay, so this is a way, how to say, a basic security measure, but it's a basic security measure, of course. It's not something that is, how to say, will stop someone who has bad intentions, maybe for the beginning, but then, yeah.
That is not, it's still challenging.
Yeah, it's still,
Okay.
we thought, of course, plenty of things, but as I said, currently the challenge is to have the system fully working, and then, of course, finding ways to protect the data.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Other questions?
Thank you very much, Professor Agatha. Now, I would like to request Dr. Pramod Saxena, conference chair, to please present a memento to Professor Agatha. So it is our pleasure to have 2 eminent esteemed guests amongst us, Dr. Vipin Balian and Dr. Gunjan Gupta from Cape Peninsula University, Cape Town, South Africa. I would like to request Director NIET, Dr. Vinod M. Kapse, sir, to please welcome them. Dr. Vipin Balian, please come on the stage, sir. I would like to request both the conference chairs to please join the honor. Dr. Gumut and Dr. Rupawat. Gunjan ma'am, please come on the stage. अविनाश मैम के फोटो फोन से फोटो लीजिएगा. Thank you so very much, Director Sir, and both conference chairs. Now it is the time to listen our second keynote speaker, Mukesh Kumar Jain, sir. And with his kind permission, I would like to read his brief profile, sir. He is a techno-biz leader with 3 decades of experience leading multinational organizations in leading innovation with large-scale products powered by big data, analytics, artificial intelligence, generative AI, and ensuring sustainability and people focus. He frequently speaks at international conferences, TEDx, business schools, and engineering colleges on these topics. He has authored and published 2 books in USA, and now he is working on his third book. He worked for Microsoft for more than 13 years, leading large-scale global teams, delivering very large-scale engineering products like Outlook, OWA, Bing, Hotmail, MSN, advertising analytics, and enabled billions of people across the globe to realize their full potential. So with due respect, I would like to invite you on the stage to share your valuable thoughts.
Jai Jinendra, Namaste, and a very good afternoon to all of you. It's an honor to be here. This is my first visit to this college, so looking forward for having further interaction. So my topic is going to be 3 parts. One, definitely the sustainability is the theme, we'll talk about it. Also, I'll touch upon some of the innovation element of it and how artificial intelligence can enable us. Very interesting, my first external speech in my life was at IEEE, and today again I'm doing this after 31 years. So that's an honor for me. Introduction has already been done. Just like to highlight a couple of things. Currently, as my role as the Chief Technology Officer, one of the things I always focus on, how can we enable people to do a lot more innovation? And some of the things is reflected already in my experience working at Microsoft with Bill Gates, Satya Nadella ji for about 13 years doing some of this innovation. We'll talk about some of those over here right now. And my current role at Capgemini. In between, of course, we had a good chance working with Mukesh Ambani ji, working on Geo about bringing the whole element of AI, how this can be done. We'll talk about that example as well. After coming back to India, I realized that I have passion for teaching and all. I wanted to do this part. So now I am advisor to 18 universities, wherein some of my subjects are taught there, primarily focused on how we can enable more potential for people in India to do innovation with AI. 2 books that I talked about, and I maybe write the 3rd book soon, finish it. Why do we need innovation? Why are we talking about innovation right now? So if you notice, a lot of things has changing in the industry. So more and more focus needs to come in about how do we need to do digital innovation. So as I told you, there are 3 parts, that's sustainability, innovation, and AI. If you notice, we all have choice. Okay, we try to book Ola, we go to Uber, it's not there, Zepto, we do Blinkit, we do Zomato, Swiggy, Amazon, Flipkart, everywhere we have a choice. The expectation has increased now that we want anytime, anywhere on any device. Let's say you try to book an Ola from here to go to the airport and it's showing you circle like this. You will wait for some time. But after some time, the latency will not help you and you probably will jump to another provider which is Uber, or you will just move on. Why? Because you cannot wait that long. And the average for India is 7.2 seconds. Which means the people will have patience level up to 7.2 seconds to wait for something to respond. Otherwise, you just move on. Okay? And that's something which we have to understand, that what is anytime, anywhere on any device expectation. From AI part, can we understand this piece? Several businesses have lost business because they are not able to monitor themselves. When you bring in sustainability, this becomes more important. At what cost? Cost not just in terms of money, but cost also in terms of the environmental impact as well. So the whole idea comes out to be, can we understand the pattern and then innovate around those? So let me give you an example about human behavior. The whole focus is on human behavior. And we all human behavior when we doing activity, how AI can capture those parts with, of course, all the security and privacy in place. Okay. About 2 years back when the travel app started just after pandemic, I was returning from Paris. I landed at Mumbai airport and I was trying to book Uber. I'm an Uber fan, not an Ola fan. I'm trying to book Uber, and the price was very high, 750 rupees to go to my place. Switch to Ola. Within few seconds, switch to Ola. Got it same ride for 450 rupees. I left. Few minutes later, I get an SMS from Uber saying that you tried to book, you did not book. Can you give a feedback? Sure, why not? One link. Click. One question. Why you did not book? The price was too high. The vehicle did not come. Driver asked for cash. You went with a friend, or a baggage did not arrive. Selected the price was too high. Few minutes later, get another SMS. Apologies. Few minutes later, another SMS. Here is your 300 rupees voucher. So Uber wanted to understand what happened. It was collecting the data. But think about it. How did Uber know whether I left the airport or not? Any guess? Location tracking, of course. Because I was working on Uber, decided not to take Uber, take Ola, but I did not kill the application. So the location was saying Mukesh is going, speed is increasing, gone. Lost opportunity. Data is everything there. If you're able to understand data, that's why you'll be able to get some innovation done with those areas as well. And that's the point number 3, which is analytics to understand usage and innovate around those. Okay. Now, everywhere, a lot of the innovation is happening for business growth, right? How do we really empower ourselves to do AI? And that's why no wonder people who have trained on data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, they are highly sought after for some of the top companies to work on it because we are enabling them to compete with AI. And here's a slide. This is a very old slide. To my knowledge, this is a 19-year-old slide. I purposely kept it because it clears the message. Because 19 years back, when you used to have a phone which was something like this, some of you may remember this. At that time, if you say that, hey, I can do email on my phone, people will be like, wow, you can do email on the phone. Camera, those things were wow at that time. Canon was the scientist who suggested there are always 4 parts of any product. The top part, which is delight, which is like wow. On the right side, which is more, or dikhao ad in Amazon, right? More, we want more memory, more RAM, more options. At the same time, some dissatisfied, yeah, charging is not good, network is a problem, but you're okay to use it still. That's dissatisfied. And then, of course, must have, make and receive a phone call. Canon suggested that over a period of time, everything becomes must have. So the delight becomes must have, more become must have, and dissatisfied become must have. Which means Fortune 100 company, 50% of them are no longer there. It means if you do not understand this part of any product or any innovation, you're gone. You might have noticed whatever application you're using, every few weeks, few months, the new innovation comes to those applications. They're not waiting, hey, if the competition comes, we will do it. No. And that's one of the reasons Microsoft lost Bing. And I've documented that in my second book, where about why, because of some small performance reasons, Hotmail and Bing of Microsoft was lost to Google. Primarily because we were not tracking how much time it takes for people to load it. We have to be very, very careful about it. 7.2 seconds I talked about it. It's on mobile application, but sometimes the patience level is not very high. And what do? The time you have an option, you switch over. So those are some of the things you need to understand about how this innovation works. And let me give some example about B2C. Example, some of you may have already been using those, so that you get an idea about how human behavior, the psychology part, plays a very important role in this innovation. I'm sure you get a lot of junk email, right? Bill Gates used to get 15,000 junk email in the year 1999. That's a lot per day. That's a lot, right? So at that time, of course, I was always curious, and I raised my hand with a technique called "पूछने में क्या जाता है." There is no harm in asking. So I raised my hand and said, I want to work on this product. I was denied because I don't have a PhD, I don't have a master's. Microsoft, I was working in Microsoft, but they said, no, Mukesh, you cannot work on it. Why? Because no, you don't have a PhD and all, somebody else will work on it. They were focused only on the keywords. But one thing we forgot that the spam sender, the hackers and all, they are smarter than us. They would write 0 instead of O, and they'll make minor edits in the spelling mistake, and they will beat our system. So try it a couple of times and say, you know what, forget it. Let me do on my own. I will let you know how the algorithm was. Very simple algorithm. And you will see, wow, this can be a machine learning algorithm so simple. Yes, it can be so simple. And with AI, you can actually solve these problems. Now think about it. Are we going to read a junk email for more than 5 seconds? Are we going to delete an important email in less than 3 seconds? Probably no, right? That was my model. Focusing on human behavior, how do humans interact with some of this content, and based on that determining what is junk for Mukesh and not junk for others. Because Flipkart email could be junk for me, Amazon is not, but for you, Flipkart could be important, but Amazon is not. So there is an old movie in Hindi which was called Dulhan Wahi Jo Piya Man Bhai. That's the English translation of the word personalization. Right? So personalization is what is required, where people will get what they want, the content what they want. And that's how it actually was implemented. Within 7 days, Bill Gates, 15,000 junk email, 94.2% of accuracy we were able to achieve. That level of accuracy so that this junk email is reduced. That's why if you are using Outlook, you will see a lot less junk compared to other email provider. Again, using AI. Now think about the blue color, right? This is also blue and this is also blue. That's why I'm wearing blue color today. Blue color. Any guess? When you do a search, you get the link in blue color. What was the rationale behind it? Why is blue color? Any guess? Anybody? Less distraction. Anything else?
Highlights.
Highlights. Any other? Activated link. One more.
We are made of water. 70% of the content is water.
70% of the content is water. The water is blue, probably.
Yeah.
I thought water was transparent. Sky is blue. क्या फेंकते हो? क्या क्या जवाब देते हो? सही है. मेरे बहन को तोड़ मर के मत बोलो. जवान से फिसल गया. I was curious. I'm talking about 2006. I asked this question to the UX head of Microsoft Bing. Why this color is blue? He gave the answer, which is blue color is the color of trust. And blue color signifies data. Okay, I believe it. But why this shade of blue? Why not some other shade of blue? Out of curiosity, asking this question, can you validate why we chose certain color? He became curious. He said, Mukesh, what is in your mind? I said, instead of thinking Mera Wala Blue in Asian Paint advertisement, right? Mera Wala Blue, like, is my personal favorite. Can we run an experiment and see which shade of blue gives the better results? So we ran an artificial intelligence experiment where 10% of people were given one shade of blue, another 10, another shade, 10%, 10 different people, 10% shades were changed. The shade we were using at that time was cat number 5. 4 lighter shade, 5 darker shade, and we ran the experiment for 2 weeks. 9th darker shade gave us 42% more click-through, more money, better experience. Something is there with this color. I don't know the answer. It's psychology, right? We don't know, but psychology proves, the things prove that yes, something is there. We changed it. We changed the color, right? Because of which the more business is coming, right? Now you have to make sure whatever we do, can we do it by an experiment rather than deciding whether this is my favorite or your favorite color. There's so many examples around those, right? I'll give 2 examples and then we'll move on. So many examples about AI-driven innovation which we all are using it, right? This, what advertisement to show, if there's a peak hours, which person will get Ola and Uber, and all of those things are decided by AI, by the way. And obviously, sometimes we think if my ride is 1,200 rupees, the other person's ride is 800 rupees, the 1,200 person will be get. No, answer is not that. It's not about the money, but it's about the probability that Mukesh will not cancel. Probability that when the ride goes there, after 1.5 hours, will there be enough business for that ride or that vehicle? All those things are taken into consideration. 37 parameters are decided based on that the ride is allocated to you. Okay, and there are so many things are there. But let's talk about a video. I'm sure all of you are using it. Let's take an example of a video, a YouTube video. So you got a brand new laptop, brand new. You connect it to your Wi-Fi, and you go to youtube.com. Okay, no signing in, no nothing, no search, nothing. Just youtube.com. What do you expect to see? What will you show to you? Any guess?
Trending random videos.
Trending videos from South Africa will be shown to you, right? Or Brazil? Location. That's the answer. So trending videos on the location. Okay, you look at it, you don't like it, you type Dabang. Dabang, you know, right? You type Dabang and you watch the movie. The movie is done. And you again come to youtube.com. Now what should we show you? Bollywood?
Similar movies.
Similar movie? Any other? Bollywood, action, police movie, and what else?
Is content related to that Dabang movie?
Content related to that, but how would you be example? Yeah?
It can be Singham.
Singham, okay. One more? Khaki? Okay. So what it does is, when you watch one content, YouTube did not know who you are. YouTube did not know what your favorites are. 144 parameters there on the content. So 144 parameter will get a value 1. And then you watch second content, it gets 1.1. And the thing which you don't do gets less than that. Implicit yes, explicit yes, implicit no, explicit no. Explicit yes, you click on the content. Explicit yes. When the content finishes, it automatically starts the next content. You don't click anything. That's implicit yes. Explicit no. Something came to you and you say, no, I don't want to watch. Explicit no. Something came to you but you did not click it. Implicit no. A lot of those understanding has to happen. Human behavior, psychology, how the data is captured, and accordingly you say, okay, what will work for that person? Recommendation piece of it. Okay? What can make an employee stay in the company? What are employees talking about so that I can improve? What can I reduce my carbon footprint? So recently I taken an additional role in Capgemini where I am looking at people analytics, wherein employee satisfaction survey goes out and we get responses. We got 4 million responses in the last couple of years. So I'm looking at it and some people mention, yeah, I'm okay with the manager, the work is really good, but I hope they give a better policy in this. And yeah, they keep writing positive, negative combination. Are कहना क्या चाहते हो? We try to understand those parts. NLP, poor NLP, we don't understand. Natural language processing fails over there. Why? If you look at this long sentence, 4 positive, 4 negative, neutral. But that's not true, right? 4 positive and 4 negative. 8 data points the person has given to us. So trying to change that part as well to understand what people are trying to say. Again, artificial intelligence comes handy over there as well. I'm sure machine learning, you are aware of it. It's all about learning from the past data. One other thing you have to do, a lot of people when they jump to AI, they directly jump to AI. They don't do enough foundation on data, analytics, insights, machine learning and AI. So you have to do this part first. Learning from the past data, input and output combination. A simple term I'll tell you in machine learning, no need to go for fancy definitions. Simple definition. It's a technique which establishes relationship between a set of input and one output so that it can be used as a formula for future prediction. That's it. Very, very simple definition. If you do this part machine learning very well, everything has a pattern. Everything has a pattern and that can be predicted. And that's what something we start using in sustainability. We will talk about it in a few minutes now. And then of course artificial intelligence, and we talk about it. The 4 quadrant, it has evolved. AI has evolved. About 40-50 years when the word was coined, it was all about how can I make it simple calculations. It was started for calculation purpose only. Then it came to automation. How can you automate end-to-end parts? Then came down which is intelligence. We are in the era of automation come intelligence, a little bit overlap between the two. We are in this era. But the future is all about cognitive. That the system can think like humans. And that's the area which has not been explored yet. And that's why a lot of the research are happening into the area. How can we emulate the system? There are a few companies who have done some POCs and everything, but still, picture will be back here. More things to come in this area. So what are the building blocks for sustainability? If you look at it, there are 3 building blocks for sustainability. One is data, another one is AI, and third one is people. Without people, nothing can happen there. People, let's talk about people and then jump into sustainability. So innovation as the key part, as I mentioned, right? So one of the things I did at Capgemini recently about 5 years back, 6 years back now, every day there is something there. This program Millionaire Garage, we did it in 9 countries now, and then we are doing it for several of our clients. Every day something is there. Monday we start with the ideathon, encouraging people to come up with the idea. 1 hour session, 12 to 1, optional. Whoever want to come, don't come, come for 5 minutes, come for 2 minutes. If you don't want to come, that's okay too. Online, everything online of course. Ideathon, people come up with ideas, that's it. Now people at Capgemini, of course they are busy, but then they come up with the idea, it's their own idea, they will go beyond to work on those ideas. So idea comes up, they say, okay fine, what do you want to do? I want network, I will give you network. I want cloud, I will give you cloud. I want guide, we will give you guide to work on the idea. And that's where the technical people comes in, Tuesday tips. Tuesday tips. Third Wednesday, innovation of the week. Imagine freshers after college, freshers from NIET joining Capgemini, and 3 weeks later, 4 minutes later, they are doing some innovation and sharing with the CTO of the company, sharing with some of the senior leaders of the company. And that's where the innovation of the week becomes more and more famous. I make sure I attend Innovation of the Week every week, Wednesday, 12 to 1. Then comes Thursday, Guruvar, Guru Gyan. Even though we are in 9 countries, we have not changed the name. We kept it same, Guru Gyan. The way in Hindi, the meaning of this comes very well compared to expert session. That Guru Gyan on Thursday is the big part where we are not repeated yet. It's been running for almost 6 years now. We are not repeated a single Guru yet. Person comes in and shares their stories and knowledge. And of course, Friday Masti, where we do Chaat Pe Charcha, where we have samosas, vada pav and all. We have with people so that they can actually have a fun environment to be able to share the ideas and so on. So that's about innovation. So when we are focusing on people, these are some of the things we need to be very, very insightful about how we will do innovation with people. Now, when we talk about sustainability, we talk about 17 Sustainable Development Goal. About 2 years back, when I presented at United Nations on sustainability part, how we can empower with data. This was one of the key element part. What are the Sustainable Development Goals and how we can do some of them, not all of course, but some of them we can power with AI. So one of the important part is how can we have stakeholders? Stakeholders, not just we, everybody, employees, users, customer, partners, everybody will be involved. And how do we measure? Measure is important part. And biggest challenge in sustainability, how do we measure it? So you might have heard this word net zero. In sustainability, one of the important part is we're calling it net zero, which means I'm only consuming carbon footprint or whatever, I'm consuming this electricity and all as much as I can produce myself, or one way or the other I'm compensating it. Carbon credits and all those things we talk about, right? So on the top you are seeing the consumption, how much I'm consuming, and the bottom part is how much I'm generating. So that I can do a balance and I can be net zero. And that's the whole goal about net zero. Now when you're doing this, enterprise are facing a lot of challenges already. What are these challenges? Look at this. Complexity. How do you even measure first bracket? There's scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. How do you even measure? That's the biggest challenge organization is facing. Second one, how do you balance ESG? Environment, social, governance. How do you balance with business growth? I want to grow business faster, but I cannot do so many things because it will have negative impact on sustainability. And then of course, calculation on ROI. I do sustainability part, but what is ROI for me? So each of these areas, if you look at manufacturing, financial service, energy, automotive, everywhere there is a problem. Everywhere there is something about how do I measure these things, which includes minimizing the carbon footprint, doing something with less. So the two solutions which Capgemini have built over a period of time is into the two parts. First part is how do you get to net zero? The first part is commit. You have to commit a date. Our CEO have committed a date 2025, but we already hit net zero last year itself. So 2 years in advance. Commit. Purpose, commitment, transformation path. Path should be there and all the management leadership should be inbuilt on those. Act. How can you build products and services? Now think about it. I'll give you some simple example how small things will matter about this, and then finally monitor and report. To get there, first thing we need to do is measure. So let's do a quick example of measurement. Let's say you have an Excel file, 10,000 records. Excel file, 10,000 records. And at the bottom of it, you have written the formula for average. So what it will do? It will look at 10,000 records and calculate average and give it to you. Simple. But what if you change one value? You change one value in Excel. It's going to recalculate the average. Would you agree? We don't realize that much because the computer is very fast computer, right? We will not realize. But why should it recalculate? A better solution could have been if you do a sum, we do a count, and then you do a division. And then one change was happening, we just do that mathematical arithmetic operation of plus or minus of one change. And you would have saved 10,000 compute time. You would have saved. Like that, there are things. How many of you use dark, black color background in your computers? Some of you? 28%. If you are using white color background compared to black color background, 28% less energy you are consuming. So several Power BI dashboards we had in the company, we all changed from white background to black background. It's a little bit inconvenience in the first couple of days. After that, you get used to it. I just recently got my new phone and I was looking at it, was white background. It was very uncomfortable for me for a few days. Only when I changed to black again, it was normal. 28%. So each of us can make a difference there in sustainability part of it. And by the way, it will save your battery and energy, definitely, no doubt. So measure. First of all, how do we measure those parts? And these are some of the measurements done. Whatever we are doing, what is the carbon footprint impact? So I encourage in my company as well, right? out of 5 days, normally people I come to office for 3 days, hybrid work environment, which is good. But I ask, encourage people, out of the 3 days when they come to office, at least 1 day, can they come by train or they come by some public transportation, so their carbon footprint is comparatively less. And they encourage that to do this part. Okay? And whenever we have some option that you are traveling less than 1 kilometer, is there an option for you to walk? Walking is good for health as well, right? So all those parts, small measurement, if you start measuring, definitely goes long way. Second, improve. Once you know where you are. So one of the models we created for some of our clients was, are our suppliers also serious about sustainability? Now imagine if I have 4 suppliers, all giving for same price, or even some supplier giving so higher price, but I know that this supplier is very serious about sustainability. If I'm buying from that, my scope 2 comes down, because the item I'm getting from supplier 2, right? Those scope 2 will be also be counted against me. So can I reduce those parts as well? That's the improve part of it. How can we leverage data and AI? And here, the biggest part of AI will be your predictability and your prescriptive, analytic prescriptive recommendation part of it. And then anticipate. And that's the part which is anticipate. If I do this, what is the future going to look like? Predictions. Okay. Coming up with the AI model is important, because right now, if you just do it on paper that I've done this and I just do calculation in mathematics, it doesn't work that way. You have to go long way after that. So when you talk about data, we talked about some of this part anyway, but let's go to the basics. Data. What is the data? We have to remember the data is all about measurements. Data is all about measurement. Whether it's quantitative or qualitative, both are measurements. Quantitative, numeric. Qualitative, facial expression. Qualitative, text. Qualitative, emotions. Video, audio, right? Image. All these things are qualitative. Structured versus unstructured, you can think about it. Now earlier, most of the books and documentation doesn't talk about expressions. Doesn't talk about tone. Now think about it. If I'm giving an answer something, I told you not to do this. I told you not to do this. See the difference of tone? Okay? In the tone, but when you translate that into simple translation, it will only get the same answer. I told you, comma, not to do this. Right? But the tone was different. That also is the data. That's unstructured data. That also need to be captured. Every activity, inactivity generates data. Most of the books you will refer, they will always say every activity generates data. But there is a strong area of inactivity. You all are here in this room, right? You since 12 p.m. you are active in this room, but inactive on your WhatsApp. So people looking at it say inactive since last 12 p.m. That's your inactivity generating data again. And data tells a lot about somebody, right? Think about the word, let's say 2020. What comes to your mind? 2020? What comes to your mind? COVID, of course. Without COVID, without work from home, digital, anything else?
Short match.
Short match.
Less pollution.
2020 is all about cricket, right? So 2020, cricket in India. But 2020, there's a book by Dr. Abdul Kalam. 2020, eye vision. 2020, Parle biscuit. 2020, talk show in UK, and 2020, weight loss program in US. If 2020 has so much meaning, the same question arises, कहना क्या चाहते हो? What are you trying to find out, right? You go to Google and search 2020, depending on your past history, it will give you recommendations. Imagine an American coming to India and search for 2020, पहले biscuit खाओ. Go and play cricket. That will be wrong, right? No. They want to have weight loss program because it's American. But how do you find out from the IP address? No, you cannot find out from IP address. So you need to be a lot more intelligent based on history as well. Intent, mansha. What is the intent? Why this person is searching for this one? At that context. I'm not a big cricket fan. When I search 2020, cricket is 7th or 8th in my list, in my results. But my son is a big cricket fan. But when he searches, cricket is on the top for him. So all again, personalization based on this part. So when you talk about ESG, environment, social and all, there are a lot more things. When we talk about sustainability, you only talk about carbon footprint, right? But when you talk about ESG, it's much more than that. Including things like, air pollution, water pollution, are there over there, right? Water management. Then talking about social, human rights, social, diversity. Diversity not in terms of gender, but also in terms of other areas as well, right? Labor standards, employee engagement. Then governance, when you talk about it. Anti-bribery, anti-money laundering, a lot of those things also come into picture. So ESG is a lot more bigger umbrella. A lot of these countries now have ESG laws, including India as well. Some of the laws are evolving over there as well. So the whole part is about, the whole layer, if you think about it, creating the sustainability AI, data and AI hub. so that we can get the data from R&D, purchasing, production, supply chain, everywhere and see which are the area, how much is my net part. So Adidas recently published the shoe manufacturing, Adidas shoes, the shoe manufacturing is the lowest in the industry, carbon footprint. So can we measure in that area, right? So getting into those one, net zero goals, analytics, and then come up with the spark for each of these leaders. It could be chief executive officer, CFO, CEO, CMO, everybody have an option to do. CEO have to report it. CEO have to decide. CFO have to report it. CEO have to optimize, communicate by CMO, innovate by CIO. Okay, CISO, all of those, and of course the partners and all performance part of it. If you think about end-to-end platform with sustainability, I don't know if our college NIET have this policies are already there, but coming up with this part and then finding it out, what data can be collected, how can we measure sustainability part on our campus as well, and then try to improvise those year on year, because at some point, right, this will become a law as well. Looking at data, looking at analytics and AI to predict, creating those solutions with AI/ML, getting into impact assessment. What are the risks of doing this part? Reporting, ESG part will be more important, and then compliance part of it, regulatory compliance. We are in India, of course, India law, Noida, UP laws, all will be applicable. But when you go international, especially for companies like Capgemini, where their international presence becomes more and more challenging to report those regularly. Okay. So whole again complex architecture, every single detail. So if you are into engineering, definitely you will love this part, because every detailed part about what all components are required to build the whole solution, which is called sustainable data and AI hub, sustainability, where people can actually take decisions in the organization. Okay. So in conclusion, there are a few elements I just want to make sure you recall and then use it. Measure impact for every activity and inactivity. Okay, that is the important part. Not taking a decision for a few days is also inactivity. Taking separate vehicle for separate people, again, there is a lot of impact because of some activity there, right? Getting to basics. I talked about mathematics, right? How can we get some better mathematical formula? Some of you are in computer engineering, you have the subject called DSA, data structures and algorithm, and that's where the part about complexity comes into picture, where you're looking at n square, n factorial, all those complexity. My son is into computer programming, that's very, very important. If you start focusing on those and then reduce the carbon footprint by using the right algorithm, it goes long way. Understand human behavior. I talked about it multiple examples today. It's all about human behavior. If you understand human behavior and try to map it with psychology, you will actually be able to do a lot more innovation, especially on the product side of it. So understanding the people, how the person is going to use it, what is the potential impact is going to have, positive or negative. Important. Hackathons. I'm sure there are a lot of hackathons. So I conducted several hackathons from Capgemini in multiple universities around sustainable development goal. You choose the goal. You decide what data will be required. A lot of data is available for free on Kaggle. But doing those hackathons and getting those on your resume goes long way. People will say, wow, the person is already serious about sustainability. And incidentally, Gen Z, okay, most of you are Gen Z areas, a lot of focus is there on social impact, the purpose part of it as well. And that's why it's a good timing for us to do hackathons in this area and create those solutions. And some of the solutions can be used ready to use. Like for example, I keep talking about, I do a lot of lectures at IIT Bombay about how some of the algorithm can be fine-tuned. The thing about if you're writing a machine learning algorithm, you write the algorithm and for minor changes you will rerun the model. Rerun the model another 2 hours of wastage of compute. What can be done? Not just to reduce the cost but also reducing the impact. When we are doing paperwork, I'm talking about 35 years, 40 years back, it has certain carbon footprint. But when computers came in, carbon footprint went up by almost 5 times. Okay? When computers now, AI came in, another 5 times. Now Gen AI, another 7 times. So the whole impact is very, very huge of how we are using it. I don't know if you already know, for every query we fire on Gen AI, ChatGPT, it is 27 rupees. Okay? So much of compute is used to build the system and so on. It is the biggest one nowadays to have this. Data analytic insights, predict, prescribe will be the next big thing. Whatever we do, how can we do this part better? Education. Not sure whether we have the subject, but some of the colleges where I'm an advisor, we have started this subject on sustainability, so the people are aware of it. A combination of sustainability and psychology will go a long way. Compliance, audit and reporting, and finally again people focus. Getting people to commit some of those. Okay, coming up with a vision and strategy, creating a goal so that organization can understand at college level and everything, even at the subject level, if we are aware of this part, it becomes very, very important. We're using AI-driven innovation around those strategy, what technology can be used, how do we build skills. As I mentioned today, so many colleges talking about sustainability, but how many colleges really have sustainability solution? Let's say you have 100 solutions, become easier for people to know and where to take it from. What kind of use cases you can work on, quick wins. Ethics, compliance, and of course governance around all each of this area. With anything, of course, there are challenges. Some of the challenges I highlighted here. Even if I want to do AI-driven innovation in sustainability, some of the challenges I can say, what is the use case? What are we really trying to solve? Leadership, are they aware of it? Are they supporting us? Sponsorship, data mindset, data accessibility, talent, and again, old style, legacy style of working. Okay. So in conclusion, last slide, my learning, again, my 29 years of learning, a lot of those things I've documented here. The first one is the पूछने में क्या जाता है attitude. My first TEDx was also on the same topic. There is no harm in asking. Right? If you try, you have some chance of getting it. If you don't try, definitely you're not getting it. Second, a person with a new idea is crank until the idea succeeds. That's something which I've learned. I have so many people told me, Mukesh, this will not work, this is crazy and everything. And I can tell you all this 30 plus innovation I've done at Microsoft or Reliance or any other places, right? 90% of time they told me, Mukesh, don't work on it, this is not a good idea, right? But still do it. And yes, there were several failures as well, right? But again, just coming with the idea is the important part to the starting point. At the same time, action without result is noise. My son, it was very interesting, and when he was in second grade, he got a B grade in one of the subjects. And I asked him, why B grade? And he said, Dad, at least I tried. Pride is good, right? He still has the American accent. But now, in the top 10 ranking on Google on competitive programming worldwide. And how? Again, he's not just trying, he's actually getting results as well. Important to know the results. If somebody can find mistake, why can't you yourself find? Very, very important part. I taught this to my daughter when she was in 3rd standard. That can you check your own work before you give it to check it? Dad, how can I find my own mistake? Yes, you can find your own mistake. It took me 6 months to convince her. Once we came back to India, 13 years back, my daughter was in 10th grade. She came first in India in mathematics, and her name comes in Times of India. If somebody can find a mistake, why can't you yourself find it? It's important. There's learning in everything. Whatever you do, there's learning everywhere. So just try to do it, measure and learn. I think you'll learn a lot, and that's a lot of my life learnings are there just by observing things. And do what you enjoy. I can tell you all my 29 years, I've enjoyed every bit of my career. Even this session I'm doing, I'm enjoying it. Okay? Maybe there were a few months in my life career where I didn't enjoy. So if I don't enjoy, I change my manager. I change my company actually. Yeah, so I changed it. In Microsoft, I changed 6 jobs. In Capgemini also, I did 3 jobs so far. So I keep changing it so that I keep enjoying what I'm doing. Last but not the least, give back time to community. This is my 5,214th lecture. Thank you. I can take some questions.
Someone can find a mistake, why you can't yourself?
Any questions? I guess it's the lunch time, I guess. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Bye.
It was nice to listen you, to be with your thoughts. Now I would like to request Dr. Kumud Saxena and Dr. Manish Kaushik to please felicitate Mr. Mukesh Kumar Chan. So please be able. So thank you very much. Once Steve Jobs had said, "Stay hungry, stay foolish," I believe people are waiting for their lunch. Lunch is ready. Participants in the C block and dignitaries and the session chairs in the B block, please. Thank you very much.
बंद कर दूं?
बच्चे टेक दिस बैग बाहर करो।
हो गया काटते बंद कर दूं? काट दे
इनकी पॉलिसी होगी।